with Jeff Leen, a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter and editor with The Washington Post. Much of the work you've involved with revolves around teamwork and a building and maintaining a cohesive team. What makes a good cohesive team?
Well, I think the first principle of any cohesive team is a team comes together based on need. It shouldn't be done in an ad hoc, optional, haphazard way. It should be done because this reporter needs the help of that reporter to do that story. And if you base collaborations on need, or we all agree that we'll work together because we really need to do this story. It's not a story we'd like to do, but a story we have to do. That makes that's the first bond that unites everybody and gets everybody to working together. The second principle for me of teams and collaboration is commitment. You have to be willing to trust the people who are on the team, to share everything. To me, it's the foxhole principle. You're all in this together. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and you really have to commit to it. You can't withhold information you don't want somebody else to know. You have to share everything. You have to lay it all out on the table. The third principle for me is communication/chemistry, which is every problem that a team hits can be solved with communication. You just have to learn to talk things out. And that includes chemistry issues, people who can't get along, people who have different styles, people who believe that they should be in charge rather than somebody else being in charge. It all comes down to communication, commitment and need and trust. For me, the fourth principle is really effective teams find ways to blend different skills. You may have one person who is a very good writer, and that person becomes the lead writer. You may have another person who's a very good street reporter, and that person is out there doing the interviews and finding people. You may have another person who's a very good documents reporter, and that person is following the paper trails and gathering together. You may have yet another person who is an expert at crunching databases. If you can blend all those skills, and some people have more than one skill, then you can cover every base and make yourself stronger. For me, the final principle of the truly successful team is if you do everything right and you're lucky and you have the right chemistry, the need is great, the commitment is there, the skills blend, you can reach a level of what I call a meeting of the minds, where you become a true team like a Woodward and Bernstein, where you can finish each other's sentences, you make up for each other's weaknesses. And it's a true leveraging of firepower. It's the two people together are greater. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And that's rare, and usually it's generated by reporters who find each other rather than reporters who are put together by editors. But it can happen.
You talked about how a complete reporter needs 5 different skills. Could you tick those off for me?
Yes, it's like the first skill is pure writing, just writing ability. The second skill, which is very different from writing, is writing on deadline. It's a skill that needs to be learned. The third skill is reporting, which is the general ability to go out and gather facts about news accurately under pressure on deadline, to know what to ask, to know how to structure a story. And the fourth skill is investigative reporting or digging, which is the ability to use sources, documents, and databases to follow paper trails, break through secrecy, and uncover what people want to be hidden. The fifth and final skill, in my opinion, is the ability to synthesize, or synthesis, I call it. And that is strategic thinking, the ability to see the forest for the trees, to connect the dots, to put everything together. And of course, a bit of synthesis is required in the other skills, but the master planning and strategy is what allows you the ability to conceive and execute the biggest and most ambitious journalism.
You talked about the minimum maximum strategy. Very briefly, what do you mean by that?
Well, if you have a really good investigative idea, and I mean a really good one, not just a tip that you're checking out, if you spend 2 weeks, by the end of 2 weeks, you should have an idea of how good a story you will be able to do if you were to spend another 2 months. And the minimum story there is a story that if you don't get lucky and you don't get the documents you want and the interviews you want and you don't make the breakthrough, you'll at least have story X that you can put into the paper after 2 months, and it'll be a decent, acceptable, credible piece of journalism. But if you do get lucky, you do get the interviews and documents you want, you make that breakthrough, then you get story Y. And if you get, that's your maximum story. And if you hit your maximum story after 2 months, there's a decision to make about whether you should spend another 2 months or 4 months or 6 months to really build out a major project. But by then you'll know that you've hedged the risk, and story Y is there if you put the time into it.
Okay, well I think that's all we need today, Jeff, Leen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.